Matt Canada is the worst offensive coordinator in the National Football League. So because of that, I think the Steelers are going to move on from him at some point this season. So here's my list of the Matt Canada replacements I would target if I were Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin. Before I share with you guys my list, who's your guy? Let me know down there in the comments. Who do you want the Steelers to replace Matt Canada with? Is it maybe a Byron Leftwich? Is it somebody else? Let me know down there in the comments section what you guys think. Is it Big Ben Roethlisberger? Let me know what you guys think, man. I can't wait to see some of the names you put down there in the comments section. All right, so now let's start with the interim candidates, where I don't think that they're going to hire somebody outside the organization to replace Matt Canada, right? They're going to pick someone from within the organization to take the reins for the rest of the season. And I do think that the two main candidates here are going to be Glenn Thomas, the offensive assistant, and Mike Sullivan, the quarterback's coach, okay? So there's pros and cons to both of these guys. If I'd have to bet on one of them being the interim, I'm going to pick Glenn Thomas. They brought him in during this offseason knowing that Matt Canada might not be the answer at offensive coordinator, and I really think that Glenn Thomas, somebody that actually has play calling experience, Mike Sullivan does not at the NFL level or at the college level. So you look at a guy like Glenn Thomas, somebody that called plays at Arizona State, wasn't overly successful, but at least he's done it before, and I think he's got a little bit more situational awareness than Matt Canada. I mean, Canada runs 4 verticals at the 7-yard line. He throws from shotgun on 4th and 1. This guy has no freaking idea what play calls to call in these situational moments. I think Glenn Thomas would be better than Matt Canada in terms of those situational moments. And then Mike Sullivan, I'm not sure if I necessarily trust him to take the reins of a play caller. He's just never done it at this point in his career. And in my opinion, I definitely think that Glenn Thomas is the potential answer here for the Pittsburgh Steelers if Mike Tomlin does in fact fire Matt Canada after week 5. Now, if they fire Matt Canada, a big reason might be because he might have a burner account on Twitter absolutely roasting Mike Tomlin, Kenny Pickett, and his own Steelers players. If you want to see what went on with that situation, we have a video breaking it all down here on YouTube where I go over the things that this burner account said, the reason why people think it's Matt Canada, and then I tell you why I don't think it's Matt Canada that's actually behind it. But it's definitely fun to talk about. So if you want to see some rumors, go ahead, click the link in the comments and description. Now, when it comes to picking a new offensive coordinator this season in terms of an interim, like I said, I think it's going to be Glenn Thomas. I think we need to manage our expectations as to just how much better the offense is going to get under a new offensive coordinator this year. You got to understand that the foundation that Canada has already set is already in place. It's not like you're going to be putting in a brand new playbook when Matt Canada gets fired. So you're still going to get stuck with really an old school style NFL playbook. But at least the situational play calling could improve if Glenn Thomas, somebody else, comes in to replace him. And listen, the unfortunate reality for the Pittsburgh Steelers on offense this year is that the offensive line and the quarterback play have not been good enough to really be confident that a new offensive coordinator is going to be enough for this Steelers offense to really turn it around. I think that you can expect some level of improvement, but if you're expecting like 30 points a game, absolutely lighting it up, that sort of stuff, I don't think that's going to be in the cards for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think that Glenn Thomas, if he does take over, I think it will be improvement. It'll be better than Matt Canada, don't get me wrong, but with the state of this offensive line and the quarterback play to this point, you can't have confidence that it'll get that much better. Now, coming up, I'm going to give you my top 5 offensive coordinator candidates heading into next year. But before I get into that, let's go into our sponsor for today's show, BetUS. Go chatsports.com/bet and use promo code Steelers125 to get a 125% deposit bonus on deposits of $100 to $600. So, for example, you put in $100 on the BetUS website and use promo code Steelers125. They're going to give you $125 additional dollars to use on your bets, a $225 value for just a $100 investment. That's one heck of a deal if you want to take advantage of that to use on your bets this football season. Go chatsports.com/bet and use promo code Steelers125 to get that deposit bonus today. Now let's start with Deuce Staley, the running backs coach there in the Carolina Panthers. Now you might be saying, Jack, Carolina Panthers stink. Why would we go get a coach from the Panthers coaching staff? Well, the reason why I'd go get Deuce is because I think that he's got some particular connections that I think would be pretty impressive to Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin as a potential next offensive coordinator. You take a look at it right now. He's the Carolina Panthers running back coach right now and assistant head coach, I will say. And he's also worked alongside Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson back in 2022. And he worked really closely with him. Of course, Ben Johnson, one of the best offensive minds in football right now. That offense in Detroit is absolutely stellar. Ben Johnson will probably be the first guy hired for a head coaching vacancy this year. And also Deuce Staley, not only is a former Pittsburgh Steeler, but he has a really tough-nosed approach that I think Mike Tomlin would really appreciate. He's somebody that would really take on the mantra of the standard is the standard. And this guy just seems like a Pittsburgh Steelers coach, man, in my opinion. Reminds me a lot of Brian Flores in terms of his demeanor. Obviously, different side of the football, but I think Deuce Staley is somebody that's a former Steeler. He knows the Rooney family, of course. He's got that connection, and he's got a connection to a really great offensive coordinator in this league that might pay dividends for him here in Pittsburgh. Now, number 4 on my list, Byron Leftwich, former Steelers backup quarterback. He's got that connection to Mike Tomlin, and right now he's a free agent, right? He's formerly with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, won the Super Bowl as the offensive coordinator for Tom Brady, Bruce Arians, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers back in 2020 during the COVID year. And he had some success, right? He had some success even with Jameis Winston in 2019, even though Winston threw for an NFL record in interceptions that season, right? So last year, not all that great for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on offense, but he does have that connection to not only Mike Tomlin being a former backup quarterback, but also to Bruce Arians, who I'm telling you right now, Mike Tomlin is going to consult Bruce Arians as to who the next offensive coordinator for this team should be. Take a look at that offense from last season, and it just wasn't overall that impressive. So this is kind of the reasoning against Byron Leftwich, is that with a waning Tom Brady, without a good offensive line, all these different things, this offense was not good, right? 25th in points, 25th in yards per play. The turnovers were fine, but that can be attributed to Brady, I think. Third down, 19th, red zone, 22nd. That's just not great numbers right there with some pretty good talent on his roster. So I think it's definitely going to be interesting to see if Leftwich is on their short list, given that he didn't finish things out in Tampa Bay very well, but he runs the same exact offense that Bruce Arians ran here in Pittsburgh. He's got that connection with Mike Tomlin. I think it's definitely likely that Byron Leftwich will be a candidate for this vacancy come the 2024 season. Now, coming up, my top 3 offensive coordinator picks for the Pittsburgh Steelers here in 2024. But before I get into that, do me a favor real quick. And if you hate Matt Canada, you want this guy to get fired after this week, do me a favor. Click that thumbs up icon and like today's video. Number 3 on my list, Zach Robinson, the quarterback's coach from the Los Angeles Rams. Now, of course, the McVay tree is getting wider and wider every single season, right? You see coaches coming from the McVay tree, get head coaching jobs, it seems like every hiring cycle at this point. Zach Robinson is somebody that could even get a head coaching job next year if he does well enough in those interviews. But listen, man, he's a quarterback's coach right now. He's not an offensive coordinator, so if there's an opportunity to go from QB coach to offensive coordinator somewhere else, I think he would take that. And listen, I want to see this third-generation West Coast system implemented here in Pittsburgh. It is new school. It is modern. It gets people on the run. It allows it's very easy on quarterbacks as well. Very QB-friendly systems. I think that this is the future of NFL offense. And if you can get somebody from this tree that actually knows what they're doing, I think that it's definitely something in the best interest of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that's why number 2 on my list, another third-generation West Coast offense, the Miami Dolphins, Darrell Bevell, somebody that has a ton of experience play calling in the National Football League, a former Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator with the Seattle Seahawks. He has experience developing quarterbacks. He helped develop Trevor Lawrence, Russell Wilson. The Steelers might be drafting another quarterback next year. Darrell Bevell not only comes from the third-generation West Coast scheme, learning under Mike McDaniel, there with arguably the best defense in football in Miami. He's got the experience being a coordinator in this league for over a decade. And then also, man, I think that he's got a great track record of developing quarterback talent. I think that Darrell Bevell is a fantastic option for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I've had him as my number one option for a while, but I have a new number one option on my list, and it's Chris Foerster, the run game coordinator / offensive line coach for the San Francisco 49ers. This entire third-generation West Coast offensive revolution that we're seeing in the NFL nowadays was started by Kyle Shanahan. And, of course, Sean McVay as well. But the Shanahan tree is almost just as big now as the McVay tree, right? These two guys have combined for more head coaching hires than any other head coach over the last probably 5 years, and it's not close. And Chris Foerster is somebody that's designed a hell of a run game there in San Francisco. He's somebody that's also worked with offensive lines in the past and has developed some of the best offensive lines in the National Football League time and time again. And guess what the Pittsburgh Steelers need, man? They need somebody with experience with these offensive linemen to get this thing turned around, because this offensive line has been terrible for too many years at this point. I'm done waiting around and sitting around for it to change. I want somebody to come in here and fix it. I think Chris Foerster is the right man for the job because he's just a run game coordinator right now. I would say get him in your building, make him completely responsible for your offense. I think that's something that he would take. And I think that I would do whatever it takes to get Chris Foerster or Darrell Bevell as the offensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers moving forward. Now, that'll be it for today's show. Let me know what you guys think of my list down there in the comment section. Of course, remember to let me know who you want the Steelers to hire down there in the comment section. And make sure you click that subscribe button, because if they fire Matt Canada, when they hire a new offensive coordinator, we are going to have videos for you guys here on the channel. We are going to be going live when Matt Canada gets fired. If he gets fired this year, we're going to be partying it up. You're not going to want to miss it. Make sure you click that subscribe button for me right now.